Welcome to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I'm your host, Lisa Huff. Over the last 5 years, I've coached hundreds of hairstylists and beauty industry professionals, helping them work their dream schedules exclusively with their dream clientele and earn their dream income, all while fostering genuine connections and lifelong friendships inside the beauty industry. In this podcast, we dive deep into abundance, manifestation, business building strategies, and creating a life that you are truly proud of, both behind the chair and at home. Are you ready to embark on a journey of personal growth, success, and sisterhood? Then hit that subscribe button now and get ready to experience the pure magic of Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. I have a very brave soul with me today, Lisa Atkins. She is a member of Stylist Soul Tribe. She has been in Soul Tribe since I looked back before we got on here, Lisa, summer of 2022. So like a year and a half, we've been in each other's world. Lisa is a booth rental stylist in Northern California. She specializes in low maintenance hair color. She's a mom of two, a wife, a dog mom, and a self-proclaimed adventurer. And like I said, we've been on this journey together for about a year and a half. And I just know from my perspective, I'm really excited to dive deep today and hear your story, even pre-Soul Tribe, but even just in the last year and a half, I feel like the moves you've made have been astronomical. So I'm excited to just like go back in time a little bit, see what brought you before me and you crossed paths, and then kind of deep dive on your story a little bit since we've been together. So why don't you give like a little bit of an intro of who you are, what made you brave enough to come on the podcast? Because when I was introducing the podcast to Soul Tribe, I was like, if anybody's interested, fill out this form. And Lisa did right away. She's like, I don't know what I want to talk about, but I'm just going to do it. So just give a quick little intro, Lisa.
So I only signed up for the podcast because I trust you.
I
trust
me.
you
That's
completely.
good.
And you said that you wanted all of us from Stylist Soul Tribe to come on and kind of talk about ourselves and our journeys. And yeah, I just trusted you. So I dove in and went for it. And I knew if I didn't click the button then, I wasn't going to click it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. And this is the first recording I've done outside of Leisha, which doesn't really count as a Soul Tribe member now because she's also on my team. You're the first like just Soul Tribe member to be on. So I'm getting the groove of this the same way you are. But that is my goal because I know I'm so privileged to be in this position where I get to talk to so many amazing stylists that I know there's so many gold nuggets going unnoticed by the greater industry. And I just can recognize so easily the position that I'm in, getting to have all of these conversations that I just want to bring that to people. And it's funny, right before me and you hopped on, I was Marco Poloing with Carissa, a girl in Soul Tribe as well. And I was saying that I was about to get on with you. And I told Carissa she should be on the podcast one day. And she was like, oh, well, I have no idea what I would talk about. And then at the end of that polo, she was like, oh, and by the way, I have some wins to share. This last year in 2023, I worked, sorry, we have an otter pilot trying to come into the Zoom room. I'm going to get distracted. She's like, by the way, in 2023, I worked 10 weeks less and I made $15,000 more. And I'm like, you don't know what you would talk about on the podcast. Like, this is what I mean. There's so much incredible things happening with everyday stylists right now that I just kind of want to highlight some people. So why don't you go back a little bit? Tell me your journey of like, kind of who, I know it's a big ask, but like what's made you who you are today? How did you get into the industry leading up to like when you found Soul Tribe and our paths connected?
So I never really planned to be a hairstylist. I guess I didn't realize that, yes, I did as a child play with my grandma's hair and loved playing with her hair, but I don't think I ever really thought about being a hairstylist.
So what did you think you wanted to be? Like, what was more your vibe?
So I was supposed to be a chef.
Okay, love that.
I wanted to be an executive chef. And I actually went and toured San Francisco Culinary Academy with my parents and fell in love with it. I really wanted to go. And what they do is they make you go and tour the whole place, meet like the students and the teachers and go in the classrooms. And then at the end, they tell you the price. They will not tell you the price beforehand.
Until you're hooked.
Yeah. And at the time it was $50,000.
Okay.
Which I know that there's other degrees out there that
Yeah.
are way more than that, but at the same time you have to pay it up front.
Yeah.
And
so
I
what
didn't
year
have
was
that
this?
money. So I don't, oops.
You're good.
I don't know. I think I was I had to be 18 or no,
Okay.
17.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was 17. And my parents took me down there because I mean the tour was free. So why not go see it? But yeah, once they sat us down and told us the price and tried to get us into doing the loan thing, my parents were completely against me getting a loan.
Okay.
Which I am now thankful for that. I mean, how long does it take to pay back a loan?
Totally.
And even while you're in school, you still have to pay to like your living expenses and to be going to school, to live somewhere. So it just.
So how did that transition you into cosmetology school? Was it a budget thing? Was that more in the budget, or like how did that go from culinary school to beauty school?
So I think it was just time.
Yeah.
Time went by and my parents told me, like, if you're going to live with us, you need to go to school. Like, that's the condition. You have to be going to school. Before they had said I could be working, but then I just kept working a bunch of jobs and wasn't going to school.
And just like serving jobs, or like what were you doing?
I was a waitress.
Okay.
And I was a waitress at 2 restaurants, and then I was a receptionist at a salon.
Okay.
So I went to the community college and tried to sign up for classes for marine biology.
Okay.
Because that was going to be the next
everybody thing. For a moment in time, whether it was a week or 2 years, every child wants to be a marine biologist at some point in their life. So that's hilarious.
Yeah. I wanted to train the dolphins and everything. And then now I realize I probably never would want to do that. I would feel bad for the dolphins being in.
Yeah, a lot has come out since then of that world.
Yeah.
Okay, so you thought you were going to do junior college for a little bit. Then what?
I went and all the classes were taken. It was too late in the year to get any of the classes. So I came home and I'm like, the classes that I need were taken and didn't have any space. So I couldn't sign up, but I tried. And my mom was the one that said, well, what about beauty college? I was like, well, why would I do that? And she's like, well, so you can do my nails. That was her reasoning. And when I went back to work, all of the girls at the salon, the stylists, were saying, like, why don't you go to beauty college? And I don't know. It was like everybody was telling me to go to beauty college. I guess
this is right in front of me. I didn't even think of it.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that there was a beauty school. I didn't know that you had to go get schooling to be a hairstylist. I thought people were just hairstylists.
That's funny.
I don't know. Yeah. That was just nothing I ever thought of. And then my mom took me to check out the beauty college. And when I saw the school, I mean, it wasn't anything fancy, especially for our area. And I don't know. It felt right. So I did it. And I love that. You could make payments monthly on top of getting like financial aid. So I think I was paying like $90 a month throughout my whole time of going to school. And
okay, so then what year did you get licensed? And then what was kind of your journey post Cosmo school that brought you, I'm sure a lot has taken place, but.
I graduated in 2006.
Okay.
I think I got my license the following, because you have to wait to go get your license.
Okay.
So I think 2007, I got my license and immediately got a job right after. I think I even had the job set before I got my license. I don't know, but it was an employee job. I went and did that. I completely let them take advantage of me. I have a very strong, like, work mindset to where if I see something that needs to be done, I'm going to do it without being asked.
Yeah.
And I took on all services just because I wanted to look good to my employer. I was doing things that I didn't want to do. I was letting
When you say things you didn't want to do, like be more specific, just in case they're stylists in that same position right now.
I don't know if it's necessarily that I didn't want to do it. It was more like I was horrible at them, but I was doing them anyways, and things that I didn't know how to do.
Okay, are you talking like men's cuts or are you talking like cleaning the bathrooms? Like, what do you mean when you say that?
So it would be services mostly. But I mean, I would also get down on the floor and scrub the grout with a toothbrush.
Yeah.
So I mean, I was a hard worker and completely threw myself into it. I was doing body waxing. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it anyways, just because I knew that they wanted me to do it. Zero fades. I actually got good at those.
After you do it enough times,
just throwing myself into things and getting better. But that was definitely the time frame of you fake it till you make it. And
you sure did.
I definitely don't think that is what it's like now. You definitely shouldn't fake it till you make it. But yeah.
So looking back, do you have like regrets from that time? Like, do you wish that you would have spoke up and like advocated for yourself? Or do you think that time was really like crucial in who you are now and what you've learned?
I think it was crucial. There's some things of like where I let my employer treat me certain ways that I probably should have stood up for myself more. Or like just being fearful of what they think or how they're going to react to something. I shouldn't have been as fearful, and I should have just spoke up, because I think communication is everything. And
okay, I don't know if you're going to have an example for this. Sorry if I'm putting you on the spot. I just always think of like, whose ear is this in right now? Do you have a specific example? Again, if there was a stylist that like knows they should speak up, know they should do something, like what were your big takeaways that you learned or your non-negotiables moving forward that like, this is when I have to communicate and advocate for myself?
I think it's when the employer is treating you poorly. When they're expecting you to do things that you probably shouldn't do, or it was so long ago that like I just mostly remember how it made me feel.
Yeah, for sure. And so maybe even, correct me if I'm wrong, the answer wasn't you communicating as much. Maybe that's something for the owners to take away. Like, what could they have done differently in that situation? Like, instead of just throwing these services on you, asking you, hey, how do you feel about taking these on? Or like, what would you say is the lesson out of that?
Yeah. I think it's about being sympathetic with the hairstylist, because one of the key points was both employee owners, like employee-based salon that I worked at, the owners were not stylists and had never been stylists.
Interesting.
Which I feel like you see a little bit less of that now.
Yeah, was there someone in a management role that was a stylist, or not even that? They were just winging it. Wow, what a mess. Yeah, that's destined to fail, in my opinion.
It's kind of like they just expected the stylist to do everything to make all the clients happy. No client should be left unhappy. The client's always right. And you would have to let the clients walk all over you.
Yeah.
So even if you get those rude ones, and I specifically remember having this guy come in and get his hair cut, and he hadn't washed his hair in maybe months and months and months. And he would not let me wash it because that was his thing. Like, he's like, no, there's something with the shampoo and conditioner. You can't wash my hair.
There was something deep.
And it smelled horrible to the point where, I mean, it was making me sick. But
I remember that in cosmetology school. We had a lot of like elderly home people that would come to cosmetology school. And I still get like almost triggered when I smell Shampoo One by Paul Mitchell because that mixed with the stinky head,
Yeah.
it was so gross. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about with that. Ugh.
This was like I sprayed the hair with the water because I needed back then, I
Uh-huh.
needed the hair wet in order to
Yeah.
cut it. Like I
Yeah.
didn't do dry cutting back then.
Uh-huh.
And spraying the water just made it even worse.
Ugh,
Like you
yeah.
couldn't smell it at all when it
Yeah.
wasn't wet, but
Yeah.
it was bad.
Mm.
And I mean, if I had somebody like that now, I wouldn't have.
You have the tools
I
to
keep
communicate
hitting this
now.
thing.
Those of you listening to audio, Lisa's phone is on a tripod and she has knocked it just a couple times out of frame. It's
Yeah,
totally okay. Keep going.
my thing.
Okay, so when would you say in your career that vibe started to shift? Because then, boundaries start to get talked about,
Yeah,
education starts happening. Like when did that shift from like that zero boundary, customer's always right, I'm just doing what I got to do to get by, to like, wait a second, I can take control of this situation?
that
When
would
was
be
that shift for you?
Thrivers. That was Thrivers
Yeah,
that did that for me.
I think that's the case for a
Um,
lot of us.
yeah, that was 2019. I signed
Mm-hmm.
up for Thrivers and it just kind of opened my mind to a complete different way of doing hair and
Mm-hmm.
like the structure of it.
Yeah.
Um, how I presented myself professionally and being able to not have to put up with certain things,
Mm-hmm.
like to a certain extent, like I
Yeah.
still want my clients to be happy and I want
Of
to treat them the
course.
best that I possibly can.
Yeah.
But knowing when something is toxic and not okay
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
have to deal with that, I don't know, being in Thrivers kind of like opened that door for me.
Yeah, I think that
Um,
was the case for a lot of people. I don't know if Britt will listen to this episode specifically,
yeah,
but I hope if she does, she's grinning ear to ear because I think that is the conversation for a lot of people. That's when it was introduced to me. And it's almost like you don't know what you don't know. So you're not even thinking about these things when they come up. It was just so normal. And I remember even, and I will tell people this all the time when, stylists are firing clients or turning business away or something like that. I used to literally like almost wonder if legally I was allowed to do this. Is this
yeah,
discrimination? Am I allowed to say no? And it was so freeing knowing that legally, morally, ethically, you don't have to do business with people that you don't feel comfortable doing business with. And then even back then, maybe if you just told me like just that sentence, I still would think like, oh, then you're not going to have a good business, because you're turning people away. But it's so wild how once you take that on and you start adapting that, things just get better and better and better, and the good clients get great, and like you just get so clear on who it is you want to serve that like I'm not even attracting people that I have to have any hard conversations with anymore because it's just like we've been flowing with this for so long and the marketing almost just weeds those people out on its own. And it's so wild that there are still stylists today that haven't had that realization yet.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so fascinating and interesting. Okay, so in 2019 you found Thrivers, and then in 2022 is when we kind of got connected. So tell me a little bit about what your business was kind of looking like in that time frame when you started implementing these things, and what that was like.
Um, so I went, I go through everything like super fast
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I'm kind of a workaholic.
Yeah.
So I plowed through Thrivers and
Mm-hmm.
completely absorbed all of the information.
Yeah.
Um, I actually remember seeing you in Thrivers,
Just
like
like
back when I
featured,
first started. No,
just
just your name like
communicating
popping
in the
up
group.
when you
Okay.
were, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I remember back then, like kind of being drawn to you,
Hmm.
but like I don't think I knew anything about Stylist Soul Tribe. I can't
Yeah.
remember when you started
Yeah.
Stylist Soul Tribe, but in 2021, I had actually, what's it called? Like I sent in an application for
Okay.
it and I really wanted to do it.
Uh-huh.
And then things just went haywire, like coming down with COVID and
Okay.
it just, yeah.
Doors
So it just
closed and
ended
it
up
didn't
not
work.
working out.
Interesting.
And I didn't want to start something when I didn't feel at my best.
Yep.
So it took me until the next time you opened it up, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was 2022.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was summer 2022 because I was kind
is...
of trying to look too, and just even looking to see back from when you started Soul Tribe to where you are today. I went back to your application in July of 2022, and you said on your application that you were craving community and you couldn't find it with stylists that were local to you. You felt so different in a small town, in quotes, not an ego thing. Like, get that clear. It's not an ego thing that you're better than anyone, but more of you felt like you were a weirdo for the things that you added to your business. So tell me more, like, take me back to that state of mind when you were craving that and feeling that, because that's kind of why Soul Tribe was created, because I was feeling that way as well.
Yeah. So as soon as I did Thrivers, I felt like a weirdo. That was the start of it.
And those of you listening, on the off chance that someone is just finding this episode and doesn't know what like Thrivers is, this is a course by Britt Siva. If you go back, to my second episode, I featured her. You'll hear that get brought up a lot in here, but that it's a huge community now of stylists that once you shift your thinking, it stays that way. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You've just said Thrivers a few times. I want to make sure people are like, what are you talking about? Keep going.
So I can't even remember what I was saying.
You joined Thrivers, and that's kind of when things shift. I want to talk about when you were craving community and feeling like the weirdo.
Yes. So when I started implementing the things from Thrivers and really catering to my clients and specializing in my services to really find the clients that I wanted to be working on and connecting with. I mean, I was bringing in snacks before salons were having snacks. The amenities.
And what would some other like stylists say, or what would like the looks, or what made you feel like a weirdo?
It wasn't the stylists. It was their clients.
Interesting.
Their clients seeing and noticing
and being drawn
and it's
to that
awkward feeling of them asking, "Oh, what are those for?" And like, my clients.
Oh, yeah.
And them just have that look of, well, why don't I have snacks?
You could actively see them like the perceived value is here. I would like to come get my hair done by you, ma'am. Yeah. And did you feel resentment from the stylist at that time, or not really? They were so oblivious to it.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how they felt about it. It was actually, they never said anything.
Okay.
They kind of know that, or knew at the time, that I was trying new things and adding things. I told everybody about Thrivers.
And just not everybody was interested.
So then they would know what I was doing, because I knew it was different.
Yeah, and when you start making those transitions, I remember that as well. Like, some people would be curious, some people would really not ask questions, but at the same time, you're like, I'm not just pulling this out of nowhere. Like, I am kind of following something, and that's why I'm doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was basically the course of maybe 6 or 8 months that I was making all these changes, and because 2019, I had that time frame to make these changes, and then when COVID hit, I felt like it saved me having everything set up. But
I agree.
Once I went through.
Go ahead, you keep going.
Once I went through all of that, I felt more confident in all the changes I've made. I went through like the rest of Thrivers, and I felt like I needed something more. And I mean, I was really missing, or not even missing. I felt like I was missing something that I didn't even have.
Yeah, you were just looking for more of those conversations beyond what you've already implemented. Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually, the year before I signed up for Stylist Soul Tribe, I did Hunty's pre-visit pathway course.
Yep.
And I think that's where I realized that I really needed community, because when you go through his course, you get to talk with all of the people. And you build connections in there. And when I built connections in there, I was like the light went off in my head, like I need more. And I already knew about yours. And then I started looking more into it, and then yours opened up. And that's when I just felt like that's where I needed to be.
I love that.
And
it's
I mean, I
also
had
funny
no
hearing you saying
clue.
that about COVID though, because you also joined at a time where then I started rolling out the cycle of success. And I feel like Soul Tribe 18 specifically, which is the tribe that Lisa's in, you guys have all like really followed all this new content I've been pushing out to a T. Like, and so we're going to move into the conversation of like white space, big magic, things like that. But I wonder if maybe that's why the 2021 one didn't work, because you got the experience you were meant to get, you know, with where Soul
Yeah.
Tribe was at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like I definitely went at the times that like things needed to happen. They happened when they needed to happen.
Yep. Yep. I
But
love that.
I finally got here.
Yeah. So something that pops up every time I think of you in my brain is you have specifically one, you've done the vision boards for the last 2 years, and you've had a lot of those situations come to life. I remember your Disney post, right? Kind of the same time
Yeah.
I was in Disney. So like, what are some things that come up when you think about like vision boards, manifestation? When did that get brought into your world? And what are like some cool, you know, ideas that come up when you think of that have happened in your life?
I mean, I've always been into manifesting. Even when I was a kid, I felt like I was capable of manifesting
Okay,
crazy
wait,
things
now we got to
all
go
the
that
time.
direction. Tell me more about that. I want to deep dive on that. What do you mean by that? When you were a kid, you knew that? Like, tell me, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I was very woo and went somewhat witchy when I was a
Uh-huh.
kid.
What age?
And um I don't know, because I feel like I was almost always there.
It's
Um
always been there.
yeah, it
There's never a time that knowing wasn't
no,
there.
I feel like I needed it because I didn't I didn't grow up in a household that I felt loved.
Mm-hmm.
Um so I needed something to make me feel, I guess, happy.
That is
And
mind-boggling that as a kid you knew to go to like gratitude and go like light and bright with it rather than like dark and
yeah,
depressed with it. Because I feel like I was almost the opposite. My childhood led me to being very angry until I had this like, wait a second, it doesn't have to be this way. Anger isn't the solution to this. It's wild that you knew that from such a young age.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, my grandma was the light of my life.
Okay.
So she gave me hope, I guess.
Yeah. Do you think
She
she believed in
was,
some of that woo stuff? Like, was that
she
introduced to
did.
you from her?
She
Okay.
did.
Love that.
Not, maybe not to the extent of what I believed in,
Yeah.
but I learned as an adult that we had kind of always walked the same
Mm.
path, because we never really talked about it when I was a kid. But
It was just this knowing.
she, I mean, she spoiled me,
Yeah.
just because she knew like how I was growing up.
Yeah.
And
Is that your mom's dad or your
yeah,
dad's dad?
that is my dad's mom.
Okay. Or yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. Dad's mom or mom's mom. Okay.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
really fascinating. Okay, so you've always been a little manifester. I could
Yes.
totally pick your brain for another hour on that, but we can leave that there. So when did you start like making vision boards? Have you been doing that for a long time? No surprise then
No.
that you're such a
So
manifester.
even though I was always a manifester, I never made vision boards.
Okay.
So yeah, I felt like I did the manifesting in a different way.
Okay.
But when was my first, I think my first vision board was with you,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And I loved seeing the things that I wanted like
Yeah.
on something constantly, because I put it
Mm-hmm.
next to my bed.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have it in my she shed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I loved seeing it, and then I loved putting things on there that I didn't know how they were going to happen.
Yeah.
That's like the key thing that blows my mind, is putting things on there that I had no clue how I was going to get there, and they happened anyways.
Give us an example.
Well, that would be Walt Disney World,
Yeah,
because
tell us that story.
I knew I wasn't going to be able to afford to go there, like take my family of 4. And I mean, it's expensive to come from California, go out there, stay for the time that you're out there, pay for the food, the hotel, pay for the tickets to go to the Walt Disney World. That's expensive.
Yep.
So my mom got married 2 years ago. It's about 2 years ago, to this amazing man that for some reason loves to spoil us. Loves to spoil us. He's very family oriented, and my mom was not family oriented in my childhood.
For him, sounds like he's brought out a lot in her.
No.
Okay.
So we started taking her on our vacations.
Okay.
After COVID, I believe.
Yeah.
No, before COVID.
Okay.
Before COVID. And she would just need to get there, and then we would like cover everything else.
Okay.
So we did this, and she really started enjoying like hanging out with us, hanging out with the kids. And she was single during that time. And then she found this guy, and they got married. And I don't know, like they both, I think it's just so important to her now because we treated her to that, and she realized how much
it's part of her life now. It's important.
Yeah. And she really enjoys it. And so now I think that was kind of an understanding they made together was this is important to me. I want to do this because they've taken us on so many trips.
Wow.
Now, and it seems like it's a yearly thing. It's really important to both of them. He's really come to mesh well with our family and our kids. We love him, and he took us to Florida. He took us to Walt Disney World. He paid for everything.
And that was on your vision board.
And it was on my vision board.
No idea that that was going to happen.
No.
And I think we ended up being there at the exact same time, didn't we? Which is also wild because we both put that on our board like the same day.
Yeah.
I paid for mine. I wish somebody else would have paid for mine, but we put that on the same day, and that's so crazy. And yours was like somewhat last minute, right? Like it was like you didn't know as far in advance as I did that you were going.
No. I honestly don't know how much notice they gave us. It might have been
I don't feel like it was that much. And I remember you posting, I remember you posting a picture with like the castle behind you and like saying, this is on my vision board. I had no idea this was going to come. And it was in December. So you're like, I had no idea this was going to come to fruition this year. And yet here I am.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy.
Or maybe he only gave us like a couple weeks notice. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it just blew my mind. And
I love that so much.
I mean, that was just one of the things. I can't remember like all of the things that are on the board. Right now, there is, they are working on taking us to Hawaii. And that was another thing that's on my vision board.
That's so cool.
And they plan to do that in April. But yeah, he's all about spoiling us and taking us to these things. And
sounds amazing.
It's the experience. But
and the time with family that you just make those memories, you get away from it all, your normal routine. That's like really high quality time. I love that. Okay, so obviously vision, mindset, that's all part of the cycle of success. You guys, like I said, all of Soul Tribe 18, I felt like really showed up to all of our collective calls. You did all of the cycles. What stands out to me when I think of you is how you went all in on white space and how that did lead to big magic. So tell me about like what your journey with white space is. What is white space to you? Were you very kind of already doing that before I introduced it or not? Tell me all your thoughts on white space.
So white space, I was not doing beforehand. I'm actually really bad at doing white space. Normally. And then when we went over that section in the cycle of success, I was paying a lot more attention to it because I really wanted to I felt like there was this big magic idea that was in me, but I didn't know what it was. And
can I point out too, I don't know if you know this, But when I went back to look at your application, you had something about pursuing a passion project and making a training. So you've had it in the back of your head for a while. And I lived that way for a long time too. Like there is something next, but I don't know what it is. And then
Yeah.
got very clear that white space was kind of my step into that. So I love that you got to wash and repeat that same kind of experience that I had.
Yeah. I mean, I think I started with going on walks, and I actually took off my headphones and just walked like the last 15 minutes or 20 minutes with nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it takes a while to clear your mind. I'm not one for meditation. Like I love trying it, but
well, what you just
doesn't
explained is meditation, but yeah, not a still meditation. Yeah, you need
yeah.
movement maybe. Yeah.
It just never works for me, like being in place. And when I was walking, I took off the headphones, and I mean, at first you have all of those thoughts that aren't helpful. Like to-do lists and, oh, I forgot to do this, or even negative thoughts. But once you get past that, it finally got quiet. And then things started coming in. And it felt like once one thought hit me, then another one came. And it was almost like just a flood of information in a way. I don't even know how to really describe it besides that. But I've had certain points in time, and I don't always have to be on a walk with like no headphones. I can actually be listening to a podcast.
You're more in tune with that now.
Yeah. And it's not always with music. The music does kind of distract you, but
sometimes, yeah.
The talking in a podcast, I don't know if it's just soothing listening to it or what, but it does let information come in.
It's different for everyone. And I just want to say it is such a relief me sharing these thoughts that I've had for so long and someone trying it and saying, wow, yeah, that worked for me too. Because I was living that for a long time. And it's funny that you say it's a podcast for you because I go through different phases where sometimes it's actual silence and stillness. Sometimes it's float tank. Sometimes I'm really good with like an actual meditation routine. Sometimes I'm going on walks a lot. Like it's always different for me. But there has been periods of time I can remember vividly when Ryan used to travel for work all the time. I would put the kids to bed and I'd put a podcast in at night. And it was just like, I'd start cleaning my house with a podcast in, and it was like every 2 seconds, I'm busting out the notes on my phone. Boom, boom, boom. There's an idea. There's an idea. There's an idea. And so when someone's listening to this, if they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, if you haven't experienced that before, there's something about getting quiet and you gotta watch your expectations because you're like, okay, I'm gonna get quiet and we'll see what happens. But it's so interesting what you just said is that first there's all that chatter, there's the to-do list, there's these thoughts, and you sat through that and you waited, and then you got to stillness, and then you said they start coming in. So I call them like downloads. Would you say it's fair to say that? Like it's these pretty hefty, inspired ideas that you didn't seek out. They just drop in.
Yeah. No, as soon as I got the first one and then the other one started coming in, that's exactly what it felt like. And I remember thinking, this is what she means.
Oh, that gives me chills.
It definitely feels like a download. And I've had, since that time, I've had other times where the ideas just keep getting bigger and bigger and branching off from what I've already known that I wanted to create, and then like the future of it and what is possible with it. And it just keeps going. I don't know if I'll get all the way down there, but
yeah. But before you didn't even have the vision of what you were working towards, you know? Yeah. And that's why I don't know when this episode is going to go live, but the day we're recording it, December 22nd, the last episode that just went live was mine and Alicia's. Have you listened to that yet?
Yes.
And that's why I'm so passionate about, like, I feel like when people feel lost and they're like, I'm going to buy another course, I'm going to do another thing, someone else is going to give me an idea of what to do. I'm like, you need to stop. You need to just get quiet, because I promise you there are ideas inside of you. You just have to get quiet enough. And then I promise you they're going to be so much better than anything that someone else could have fed you that wasn't for you, you know?
Yeah.
So I just hope that people hear that you can just get quiet and just be patient and just wait and let it come from within you, not from like external stimuli.
Yeah.
Um, Okay, so you have had kind of a big magic idea, which clearly you had this longing a long time ago, which was similar to me. You've created a free ebook, you're working on a course. Your vision right now is helping like cosmetology students or fresh out of cosmetology school. Tell me how that idea came to you and like why them and like what it is that you're trying to share and help people with.
So I don't know how it came to me other than the white space.
Yeah.
um, I knew that I wanted to help other stylists. I just didn't know how to help.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was in the white space, it just clicked that it would be beauty school students. And that's what I started with thinking about. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the ebook came from.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's just, I know how I felt when I was in beauty school and when I got out of beauty school and all the things that I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't know like becoming a hairstylist means that you're your own business, like
Yeah.
that you need to promote yourself,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're gonna be an employee.
Yeah, you need
Like
to
I
track your
didn't do any
numbers.
of
You
that
need to,
when I
yeah.
was at my like first 4 hairstylist jobs. Like
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Um, all I knew about was, passing out cards and
Yep.
that was it.
Yep.
But I just knew that there was so much that I didn't know that I should have known,
Mm.
or it would have been nice for me to know.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to share that with beauty school students. So then
Yeah.
they're coming out more prepared than what I was.
Yeah. When
And
you
I
just
know
told your
that so
story,
many hairstylists are like that.
you said from 2007 to 2019 when you found Thrivers. All that time, you're like, what could I have known in that trajectory of time to learn all of those lessons before then? And how would that have served me,
Yeah.
if I would have gotten that fresh out of beauty school or in beauty school? So in Lisa's book, it's called Beginning Beauty Business ebook. It's free. We'll have all this in the show notes. She helps cosmetology students with advice on what to do while they're still in beauty school, after they get their license, finding a salon home, basic business skills, tips, and resources. So everybody can obviously check that out, especially those of you that are like earlier into your cosmetology career and, more fresh out of school. What's your vision with the course? What is that? What are you wanting that to turn into?
The course is to go deeper.
Mm-hmm.
The ebook is kind of more basic, quick information.
Mm-hmm.
But the course is going to definitely go deeper.
Yeah.
There's some things that I didn't touch on in the ebook. And like after creating the ebook, I realized that I wanted to add in
It
to
almost
the
opens the
course.
floodgates. You're like, well, now if they know this, the next step
Yeah.
is this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, when I created the course, I didn't really know quite where I was going. I just kind of
Mm-hmm.
let the information come
Mm-hmm.
as I was doing it.
Yep.
And I'm still not done with it.
Yeah.
it it's it's close. It's
Mm-hmm.
very close.
Yeah,
But
and she'll keep working. I got the accountability taken care of,
yeah.
so it will come to life. Yeah, what do you have so far?
Um, I mean, so far in the course, I'm going over social media, building your resume, finding the salon, things you'll need to get started, how to stock inventory, because I did not know anything about doing that when I became a booth
Yeah.
runner. Website basics, booking software, timing and pricing services,
Mm-hmm.
planning expenses and budget, and
Mm,
marketing.
incredible. Everything you wish you knew back when you graduated beauty
Yeah.
school. That took a long time to acquire all that knowledge.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there's a lot of courses out right now, but there's not a lot of courses for like fresh out of beauty school. And let's just, you know what, let's even go this route real quick. When you made this ebook, I was obviously a big part of that. All of Soul Tribe 18 was a big part of that. And you were like, I want to get this into cosmetology schools. Like that's where my target market is hanging out. Lisa reached out to how many cosmetology schools would you say?
I think between 60 and 80.
So many schools. Like I was like,
Yeah.
why don't you post in the mega group? See where everyone went to cosmetology school. I'll tell you where I went. Reach out to all these cosmetology schools. Give them this free resource. Say, I just want to connect. Here's what I'm creating. It's for free. I just want to start getting this message to cosmetology students. How many people did you hear back from out of those 80 schools that you reached out to?
Two.
Two. So like
Yeah.
that is even more of the message of like cosmetology school will give you a cosmetology license, and students going should expect truly nothing more than that. And I wish that in 2023 that was maybe different, but I think that was a real life case study of you reaching out, and it wasn't just local to you, it was everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
Two
I
out
went
of
to
80.
my local one
Yeah.
and they sounded interested in having me come in and teaching in person, not necessarily like the book.
Virtual resources. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it kind of just fell off.
Yeah.
Like
Crickets after that.
we kind of went back and forth through email after I went in person to meet up with the owner. And then I didn't hear anything back after, like, okay, when do you want me to come in? So I just
I don't
left it
want to
at that.
generalize, but I'll put that out there as well. Like if you are somebody listening to this who is in a cosmetology school instructor position, own position, whatever, please reach out to Lisa because she is trying to get this message to students or fresh out of cosmetology students. But I think that's just even more reassurance that what you're creating is clearly needed if these schools aren't even jumping on. I mean, you didn't even ask for anything in return. You just said, this is just information I wish I had. Here it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really wild and fascinating, but also very reassuring that I think that download came for a reason, and that is the message that you're supposed to be sharing.
Yeah. The more that I build out the course, like the more I feel like it is the thing that brought me to Stylist Soul Tribe.
That's really cool.
Knowing that I had something that I needed to do, but I didn't know what it was. And I needed the support. And I mean, I couldn't have built any of it without you or without my tribe.
Yeah.
Like I constantly was going back for help and I don't know. It's just, yeah, Stylist Soul Tribe.
And even imposter syndrome. Like, wouldn't you even agree if there wasn't people that you were like saying this out loud to? Because it's a scary thing to say out loud. Like, I have this idea, I want to help people. Like, if you don't say that to the right person, your dreams can get crushed instantly, and they could say, "Why would you do that? Like, that already exists, or you shouldn't do that, or somebody else is doing that, or who are you to do that?" And so the fact that you like very quietly, this is an idea I have. What do you guys think? And we're constantly like, yes, what are you doing next? Let's keep spreading this message and getting this mission out. It's been really cool to watch you bring that to life month after month after month.
Yeah, I was terrified to tell you what it was. I was like, oh my God, she's going to think this is a horrible idea.
Oh my God, you should have. I thought you were going to say, because there's no going back after that.
No. No, but as soon as like you thought it was a good idea, I was like, okay, then there's nobody else doing this. Like, it's
and maybe there is
a good idea. Like,
and I think that's always the message that everybody is always afraid of too. And I've had to be told this a million times, and I have to continue to remind myself of this. There's only so much information that exists. Is there someone somewhere kind of doing this? Maybe, but are they you?
Yeah.
Do they speak the same way that you do? Do they come from the same background that you come from? Like, there's always a time and space for that. And no, I thought it was a good idea from the get-go, but I think even now watching it come to life more and more, and like I said, what you just did with the cosmetology schools and seeing what kind of like a systemic issue it is, that like, this does deserve a space in our industry.
School is a business. They're in it as a business. And yeah, I mean, it's frustrating for us hairstylists, like manicurists, whatever you are, it's frustrating knowing that you're going to a beauty school and you're not getting like all of the information, but then again, they are just there to make sure that you get your license. And it's important for us to like recognize that so that we can go out and get the other education that we need.
And as much as we wish that every beauty school did provide every key and every takeaway or whatever, there is also something to like the cream of the crop kind of rises. Like if you are a stylist listening to this podcast, hearing about this resource, like if you're the one putting in the work, you're going to reap the rewards of that. And there's so many stylists that while it sucks that the beauty schools don't just like spoon feed us this information, there's a lot of stylists that aren't even looking for it right off the get-go either. So there is something to browsing and exploring, listening to beauty industry podcasts, hearing what else is out there and getting those ideas and kind of finding those nuggets and those treasures. Because we both saw that when we found for Thrivers, when we started implementing that, nobody around us was doing that. So it's almost like a double-edged sword. While you wish that the schools would provide that, there is also the cause and effect, and you reap the reward of being the person that's going out looking for more and craving that. Yeah. Which clearly we both have done in our own journeys. So I love that. I love what you're doing. So, any other thoughts on the course? Any other message you want to get across? Who you're trying to help? If somebody is listening to this, what position would they be in that you feel like you would be the person that like message me, let's get in touch. I want to help you on your journey.
I think the ebook and the course could help any beauty school students, any new beauty professionals that feel like they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to find a salon that they want to work in. They don't know what to expect from the salon. They just need the guidance on how to run their business, because essentially all of you guys are going to be running your own business, whether you're going to be working for somebody. It is you putting yourself out there.
You are the product for sale. Yeah. Your service. Yeah. So you have to
need to look at yourself. You need to look at yourself as your business, and you need to know how to run one.
Yeah. Yeah, love that. So we will have the ebook in the show notes. We'll have your Instagram. We were talking before we started recording, and you said Instagram is probably just the best place. So I will have all of that linked below. Thank you, Lisa. This wasn't too bad, right? We're at 49 minutes. That was not too bad. That flew by, didn't it?
It just went naturally.
I know. I knew it would. She was a little nervous getting on.
That's why I trusted you.
I so appreciate it. And I feel like I learned some new things about you, and I appreciate you opening up, and you definitely were pretty vulnerable with some of those shares. So I very much appreciate that. I'm glad this is a space that you feel comfortable doing that. So like I said, all the information will be in the show notes. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, or are you feeling good?
I don't think so.
Okay, very good.
Well, thank you so much for everything.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, friends, and thank you so much, Lisa, for being on.
Thanks for having me.